And you make my heart glad, Chaz. You really do.
That's a really good way to start. Hello, Internet. Actually, we should change this to the fortnightly roundup of indie publishing news and stuff, shouldn't we? Now that we've moved to a fortnightly schedule. Okay, so this is put on by the Self-Publishing Roundtable. I'm Erica Conroy, and joining me is Chrishuan, Keller, Hanna. Yes, I got it right this time.
Yes. Hello, all. Welcome.
And our guest host is Zoe York. She's back again.
Back again.
Yay. Thank you for coming on again, Zoe. We will probably have you on as many times as we can possibly get you to come on. All right, shall we start? We've had 2 weeks of news to catch up on. So first up. So the romance publisher Ellora Caves is back in the spotlight again when it was reported that they had made threats against romance writers of America. RWA received an email from Ellora Caves' attorney where he states that any premature comment by RWA that Ellora Cave is a breach of their agreements is reckless, false, and defamatory. And he asserts that Ellora Cave is paying authors, and that any false comments by RWA to harm his client's reputation will be dealt with in a forceful manner. So, who wants to start?
Let Chrishuan go first.
Yeah, go Chrishuan. I think she might have something to say. I don't know how we know this, but go for it.
I think I might have something to say. Number one, this is not premature. This is you were ruled in court that you had not been doing this. All right. Number one.
It is.
Yeah.
Because they settled against their author, and we don't know what the settlement agreement terms or anything was. So
right, but the thing was that the accusation was that they were not getting paid. And when you settle, even though they say, well, we are doing this without admitting guilt, if you're innocent, you fight, especially a corporation. If you're innocent, fight. You would provide documents showing these things. They could not do any of that. Number one. Number two, RWA is an association with some of the most supportive people in the industry, hands down. Okay. Number one. Number two, they are also the organization that made Harlequin blink. All right. Harlequin has been a monster on top of the hill since our grandmothers were like our age. All right.
Well, reading porn, you mean?
Right. Right. Our grandmothers were passing those bags around. They have been on top. RWA said, look here, and Harlequin were like, ooh, right. There's a lot. I mean, seriously, this is a force to be reckoned with, right?
But the difference is that Harlequin is a well-run company, and Ellora's Cave is run by people who are batshit crazy.
Yes,
but my supposedly batshit crazy. You don't want to be threatened by them either, okay?
But all of Zoe York's statements are her own opinions and do not reflect the Spurt official stance on whether or not you're crazy.
I want to keep the money we've been getting from these promos. I mean, I don't want them to take it away.
No, but the point is that Harlequin, like you said, totally legitimate, well-run, well-oiled business, and they won't mess with RWA, all right? And you're talking about an association that supports, promotes, and safeguards their authors in RWA here. These folks going up against RWA is the equivalent of that Looney Tunes cartoon with that little teeny tiny chicken hawk and Froghorn Leghorn, right? This is a joke.
Yeah.
Right? Don't do that.
I mean, it's delusions of something. I mean, it's mind-boggling how they're choosing to spend time and energy and resources on this instead of like publishing books
and paying their
authors. But no, I mean, there are so many authors who have, to put it as generously as possible, who've had ongoing problems with receiving the royalties in a timely fashion.
Like a year and a half, 2 years worth. Yes.
Yeah. Like huge problems. So, I mean, and there are lots of small publishers that are really struggling to compete in today's digital marketplace. Mm-hmm. Publishers that used to have readers come to them and now are really struggling in this new marketplace where you need to constantly be reaching out to readers. Like, that's a challenge. And some publishers are handling that better than others. No, I don't think anybody's handling it super well. I mean, nobody likes to admit that your business is collapsing. Yeah. But Ellora's Cave certainly takes the cake on being crazy about it.
Yes. It is.
Again, just my opinion.
This is a hard time for publishers, even the small ones, as we'll see in the Porter Anderson article. It is a difficult time, but those who are responsible keep their communication open with their authors. They try their best. They give back rights and allow authors to publish on their own. They do things to keep that relationship they have with their authors and still keep their business above ground. They don't sit there and put that money into retainers for lawyers to telling people to shut up.
Yeah.
And then go chasing windmills. Right? Yeah. They don't do that. And a kind of company that would do that just tells you, okay, I'm looking at the chat and getting distracted. But a company that would do that tells you the sort of company that you're dealing with, right? And trying to bully folks into staying quiet about their problems, which is already well documented, is not the best step. It is not.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. This is just wackadoodle.
Yeah, and RWA is huge, right? It's something like 10,000 romance authors all paying their fees that can go towards the court battle fight or whatever it is. And RWA, from what I understand, they've been sort of what they call sanctioning Ellora's Cave. So they're basically informing their authors, probably avoid these guys because they aren't always paying royalties in a timely manner. And this seems to be what's really, getting up Ellora's cave, basically.
Yeah.
Anyone else got anything to add before we move on?
No, not about Ellora's Cave.
No, okay.
No. I'm kind of done with them right now. I'm just totally done with them.
Okay. Yeah. So the next item is Porter Anderson recently posted an opinion piece that he titled "Books, Prices, and Writing's Value. Careful what we asked for." And it basically comes down to saying that the indie practice of pricing ebooks for low or free is not only devaluing the work or the art of the author, but is also creating the expectation of free from readers. And because of this, the books of those who spend years writing and thousands creating responsibly are being overlooked by readers. Who wants dibs?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go.
I cannot even with the myopic worldview of this guy. First of all, indies didn't create free as a barrier-free entry to the market at all. Mm-hmm. Harlequin has been doing it literally for decades, and lots of other sample reads and like bookstores like just sit down and start reading a book. The idea of trying something before you buy it that's not out there. It's not weird. It's not new. And more importantly, it's a proven business strategy. It's a proven sales tactic that works. And I think the only people who really rail against it are people who struggle with the idea of the commercial nature of book publishing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Going back to what you were saying, used to be a time that to get folks into reading Harlequin romances, they offered 10 books for $1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pulled out that little square thing in your Sunday paper, fill it out. They send you you send the stamps when you could actually use stamps as payment, and you would get 10 books. And then for a couple of bucks, they keep on sending them, and then you trade them with your friends. Now, to be fair, he did mention that going to libraries, trading books by the dozen is not new. But the thing that bugs me is their entitlement to the large prices that publishers are charging that they're not getting royalties from, right? The publishers are not spending the money on shipping, on printing, or any of these things. And they're getting larger profits, but they're not paying their authors, right? And the authors themselves, because they're not used to the commercial nature of it, do not know who their audience is. So they can't reach out and speak to them directly. Mm-hmm. When they was talking about, I wish I could find people about bragging about my books, you could find them. Mm-hmm. You could find them if you knew who your audience was. I'm in a small little coffee clutch with traditional published writers. And one guy was talking about, he didn't know really what to write. I was like, who's your audience? Which is something that you always ask an indie publisher. And within a percentile, they'll be able to tell you who that is. And he looked at me without sarcasm, without any, he's totally serious here. He says, I don't know the publisher.
But that's the thing for trade publishing. It is the publisher who's the target.
It is the publisher. But he's trying to figure out who's going to read this book. I'm like, the people that you connect to. Are the ones who are going to read this book. And also, the readers are not going to just bypass your beautiful book and go to cheap books. They're going to go to the people they like reading, the people that we care about, the people that they care about, the folks who are going to pay the money over and over and over again. Your fans are going to go and find you. And for a while, yes, they will be readers. Go ahead.
The thing that always makes me chuckle, to be honest, in these kinds of conversations is anytime I'm talking to somebody who's like, that free, it just really, I don't know about that. That seems like you're giving your work away for free. I think you don't read very many books, do you?
No.
You're not a reader, are you? You know, because like if you were a reader, dude, if you read as many books as I read in a year, you would know that you don't read. The vast majority of your reading material does not come from the free category. You know, you look at it. You know, like I open my Bookbub and I scroll down. And if there's a free book that I am interested on the Bookbub, I absolutely one click on it because zero barrier to entry, right? I one click. Does not mean I start reading right away. The vast majority of the books that I read, I pay money for. Mm-hmm. Every so often, I will try a free read because I have it on my Kindle or because somebody has mentioned it to me, you know? But the free is only there for somebody who is actively looking for something in that genre or of that trope or whatever, right? It's not a trick. It's not, and readers, I mean, there are some people who don't have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. You know, there are some people who are gifted a Kindle and they very carefully search the free list every day for something to read. And when they get a free book from an author, they join that author's fan club and they say, do you have any other free books? And as an author, you know, there are some days where I'll get like 4 emails like that in one day. And I'll be honest, the fourth one, I struggle to respond to it, you know? Like that's my knee-jerk reaction. I totally get that. But on the other hand, those people don't have any money. And I really shouldn't be berating the fact that they primarily read free books because, hey, that's amazing that there are free books for them out there to read. And if they review them and if the review convinces somebody else to read it, why not give them another of my books to read and review perhaps, right? Mm-hmm. Lemonade out of lemons, right? And is that the majority of the reader population? No, there are lots of people out there who still want to pay money for books. And what we need to do is we need to concentrate on how do we connect with those people. Let's not worry about the people who can't afford to buy books. Let's not berate them for not spending money they don't have.
Right. and going back to your point, the last 10 books that I have gotten to my possession, I paid for, right? One, and that was John G. Harkness, was the Bubba the Monster Hunter, was, I love that series. I got one book for free, right? And that was the first thing I had gotten for free in years, literally. And I listened to it. I read it, and then I picked up everything he had in audio. And I'm reading another series of his, which I paid for. Why? Because I enjoy it, right? Mm-hmm. One free item got four of his books sold, right?
Yeah.
My books were up on pre-order.
Yeah.
Right. If somebody asked me, well, can I get an ARC copy? Yeah, absolutely. Why? Because I want you to read it. And I want you to tell me how that is. Are you messing up my bottom line? No, not at all. You're helping me build my base. Right. Yeah. And I am not afraid to alienate readers who don't want to be fans. Right. Mm-hmm. Those who really want to be fans but can't afford it, there is a function, a place for you in my world, in my business, right? Yeah. But going back to the article too, the issue that they're running into is not the fault of indie publishers, right? The reason why they're getting low royalties is because the publishers that they depend on to pay them are not paying them what they're worth. Mm-hmm. And I found it really troubling that one of the people in one of the companies who spoke said, well, we don't really know what our writers are worth. Really, you don't? You know how much that that book is worth to you, mm-hmm. right? And you know, and I know you know how much indie authors who are your direct competition are getting paid. And I also know that is within your dividend to be able to pay them that, to keep their loyalty, to keep them from jumping ship and doing it themselves. Yeah. And even though not every author will go and do all the marketing and build that mailing list to promote their own books, 10% will. And imagine the profits you lose because you couldn't support your writers the way you should have.
Yeah. I mean, it's the world has changed, but that's business, right? Mm-hmm. The market changes, business models change, and you know, exactly the same phrase that you used to talk about Ellora's Cave. You know, there's a lot of tilting at windmills, right? And mm-hmm. man, that's a common theme right now in publishing.
Right, because they want to imagine that the world hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. They want to hold on to their proven ways because it did work for a very long time. But times they are changing. You have to adjust for it. Even as indies, we have to adjust for KU2, new Bookbub, Facebook ads, email lists, the depreciation of blogs, stuff like that. We always have to keep in mind for that. And remember that in the end, it's about writing a book, writing another book, and connecting with the people who read your book.
I think that it's also worth remembering that the author has actually never made a full-time wage. The average author who publishes with a publishing house has mm-hmm. never made a full-time wage. We have this, you know, this rose-colored glasses view of what it used to be like, and that's just not true. Right. Elizabeth Naughton, she had a really great blog post back probably in 2011, how she was a trad published author for more than a decade, and the most she ever made in 1 year was $9,000, and she spent most of it on going to conferences to connect with publishers. Right? Do I have an echo?
Yep, because you don't have headphones. We can't hear you.
We want you to speak.
But then there's an echo. Oh. How annoying. Hang on, I'll get...
Okay, we'll keep talking while you go.
Right.
Jeebus.
Yeah, but it's funny, but no, most of your mid-lister, low-end mid-lister authors never made a full-time living. This is the first time in our modern age where being a writer is a is a viable entrepreneurial pursuit.
Mhm.
It's the first time that being a full-time writer is a viable career option.
Although we both of us just read the blog post that was written by Robert Silverberg, where he was making a shit ton of money back in the 50s and 60s, writing like 150 erotica novels that were 50,000 words long in 5 years. I mean,
Pulp.
Pulp was probably the golden age of being trade published in a way.
Well,
Right, and you couldn't use your real name, and you were writing 50,000 words. You were publishing a book a month or a book every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of examples of people who have had successful publishing careers in all sorts of models, right?
Mhm.
But at no time has the average author or a median number of authors been, had a living wage. And if you look at the publishing model with New York publishers, everybody else gets paid a living wage, even like almost interns do, but the only person who doesn't is the content creator. Well, that seems weird and wrong.
So that's the starvation diet, because they specifically mention that, Porter specifically mentions that in his article, that they can no longer earn that living wage. They're implying that that's the starvation diet, all because of the indies. And I'm kind of like, they're already on a starvation diet. What is this?
I really struggle with the idea that the no longer can part of that argument. When I was in university, I had just come out of university, so I was 2 years out of university, and I had an acquaintance who sold a book, a literary book, to a publishing house, and it got a fair amount of press. Like it was shortlisted for an award. That person needed to support themselves by being a TA as they did grad school. Today, that person's a professor, and they've written 2 novels. Mm-hmm. And so it's great. They're a novelist, but they are not paid a living wage for being a writer. And they weren't even in the 2 years when they were a full-time writer. And that's, there are people who do, and there tend to be more in the genre fiction or the really best-selling category. But even then, I live in Canada, and Canada is a little bit different than the United States. But a lot of our literary stars, a good amount of their income comes from things like speaking fees. Like, let's be honest, writers aren't paid a lot of money unless they either hit it huge, which is not a business plan, or they take control of their own platform. And I don't mean that in an indie way necessarily. Indie is one way to do it. But if you look at people who either through very clever rights negotiation, like for example, J.K. Rowling, right? Like she hung on to her ebook rights. That was genius. That was totally genius. Whether that was her agent or a lawyer or whoever did that, smart. You look at other people who just have have really clever ways of building their brand and building their audience. Those are the people that are successful. It is not impossible. Like Linda Howard is somebody who has no platform and sells really well, and over the years has built, her books do really well. But she's an exception.
And she also has a catalog. Now, we're not saying this. Don't hear what we're not saying. We're not saying that indie, it means automatically you're going to be rich or you're going to be making wage. No, you still have to create a catalog. You still have to connect with writers. And you said that is one exception, but she also has a huge catalog. Right?
A huge catalog and a brand, right? Even though it's not one that she actively manages, her writing is a brand. And when you say a Linda Howard book, you immediately have a picture of what that is if you've read her before. I look at, on a daily basis, I chat with writers who often say, I'm not making as much money as I did 2 years ago. It's gotten harder. And I don't say this to be No, I do. I say this to be critical, but in a nice way. I say it to be critical out of love. And I look at their catalog
and I have no idea what they write.
Mm.
I don't know what their brand is. And I should be able to, by looking at your books, know what you write. And if I don't, the problem is not the current business climate.
No.
Yeah.
If I don't know your brand, if I do not know your genre, if you are not writing a lot of books and your catalog is scanty, right?
Or you keep writing off in different directions, trying 2 books in this genre, 2 books in this one. And, like, that's okay. Figure out what you want to do. Like I did a couple of science fiction books because I like them, but I'm not kidding myself. Like if I look at my science fiction sales after 2 novellas and I'm like, oh, I'm not selling very well. Let's be honest about why that is. It's because I don't have a catalog in that brand.
Right. And I saw a comment by indie writer, someone who was TradPub and transferred over to indie, and they was like, I'm really feeling bad about my sales, and if someone tells me to write faster again, I think I might scream. She was releasing 2 books a year.
Oh.
Right. And she was like, I don't want to hear people telling me to write faster. I'm like, baby, if you don't like your sales and you want to make it in this climate, you're going to have to write faster. We're not
either, write faster
month,
write faster, write smarter. Like if you only want to write 2 books a year, they should probably both be super hot stepbrother books.
Right. Or if you want to write 2 books a year, don't complain about your income based on 2 books.
Yeah.
And don't compare to someone who's popping out a book a month.
Yeah. There was a question in chat that I wanted to answer. LM Parker asks, so what do you advise for those who want to write in a few genres? Use a pen name? Well, yes and no. It really depends on what the genres are. So I write, as Zoe, I write contemporary romance and military romance, and those cross promote really nicely. So that's like one brand. I also write science fiction romance, which does not cross promote at all. But I still write that under Zoe York because it's not a main brand. It's something I write for fun. It's something that I'm happy to tell my readers about, and some of them will try it. But it's also a brand that I don't have any serious premium brand expectations for. So if I wanted to be like I have a really good friend, Anna Hackett, who writes science fiction romance and does amazingly well. And if I wanted to have a portfolio like Anna does, or back catalog like Anna does in science fiction, then I would probably split that off and I would probably do that under a pen name. Just because it would make all the branding stuff easier. So it's not like you must do that, but it does make some of the branding stuff easier. I also have a pen name, Ainsley Booth, and I write under a separate pen name for her work because I want to be able to brand that stuff separately and I want to be able to promote it separately. One advantage of having multiple pen names is that you can do something like Bookbub more frequently than you can under one pen name. It's just kind of so it splits your work into kind of 2 promotional calendars.
That's between us. Don't tell nobody.
Oh, no. It's like public. It's on my website. They like cross, even though I said like they're separate pen names, they're like on my website. It's like, and by the way, I also write as.
Are we done with Porter? I mean, do we want to talk at all about how J.A. Conroy?
Yeah, I mean, he was bang on. Like I would just say, I should have just said ditto, and just like that would have been much shorter.
I think Porter brought it on himself though, because he actually quoted slightly out of context Conrad.
Out of context, yeah.
Yeah, one quote. Like, dude, don't do that. That's not cool. That's bad writing.
On purpose for extra viewing or something.
I so dislike Writer Unboxed, but anyway, that's again, Zoe's opinions are Zoe's.
Yeah, the views stated here are Zoe York's, and doesn't necessarily, but probably does reflect the opinions of self-published.
Clink, clink. Dear. Okay, next item. Bookbub recently announced that they will be introducing a new service to promote any book at any time. full price, discounted, audio, short story, or even multi-author box sets. Anything as long as it adheres to Bookbub's policies. So it'll run on an auction model similar to Facebook advertising, if you're familiar with that, with a budget that you set and also allows for reader targeting, which is awesome. And if you're interested, you can sign up to be one of the first to access this on the new advertising platform just by going to their site and finding the login thing, the sign up thingy. So who wants to go first?
I'll let Zoe do it.
Oh, okay.
Because she's right there.
So I it's kind of my thought about it, but to be honest, that's kind of my thought about a lot of Facebook ads right now. Okay, so here's my thought on all of these pay per click ads, right? Mm-hmm. It really matters what you want them to click on. Some things are more marketable to a cold audience. And the Bookbub, the random people who are looking at a Bookbub email, that's a really cold audience. Mm-hmm. Even if it's like, so let's say that I target anybody who's ever liked, Marie Force on Bookbub. She probably has a lot of followers, so that would probably be a decent audience to try and target. Or Barbara Freethy. Those are, two people who've done a lot of Bookbub ads, and that's their audience. But it's not my audience. So what could I possibly pitch to a cold audience that might get 1 clicks? Free books. But I can also pay Bookbub. So I pay Bookbub $350 and they will give, if they take me, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll show my free book to 1 million people. I'm not sure that I can get the same return on investment from being the ad at the bottom of the page that people see. This is an ad, rather this is a curated selection, It's
about 300 by 250 pixels, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a poster stamp.
Yeah. So now that being said, I think that every so often there is something which is likely to get a good click rate from a cold audience. A multi-author box set that you want to show them in a 3D image. And right now Bookbub will only take as an anthology. A new release that you have a big marketing campaign for. And so that's going to be one of 20 times they're going to see it in release week. Like Lauren Blakely just had a huge release and she used those ads. It will cost a lot of money, but so if you're at the point where you have a platform where throwing $10,000 at a release makes sense, then that can be part of that strategy. But if you're still at the step where you're your marketing budget is doing $100 Amazon gift card or $5-10 Amazon gift cards or whatever, I don't even think this is not where newer authors should be, thinking, oh, I could get in on I am not putting any money in Bookbub ads anytime in the near future, and especially not in the near future because of the feeding frenzy that everyone's going to have over it for the first little while, right? Yes. It will get cheaper down the road. Worry about it then. That's my thought.
I agree with you on that end that it's going to get cheaper down the road. Where I diverge slightly is as a new author. It's still, for me, about discoverability. It is about cold eyes. And it takes about 65 times for one person to hear about something and it get fixed in your mind. And also, for every 1,000 people, a few will go and click that, and then it'll drop down to 80%. And then 20% of those people will actually buy. And then a smaller percentage of that will actually buy the book. Mm-hmm. For me, being in front of 1 million people, even if it is that little postage stamp quiet ad at the bottom of the email, does have value to me for discoverability. Is this something I'm going to be doing with these pre-orders I have here? No, it'll probably be something along the line of Christmas when the price is smaller and people are being more apt to buy because they got those new Kindles for Christmas. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good tool, but it must be used well, right? Is this something I'm immediately going to go out and spend $1,000 on? Nope. This is another tool, very powerful tool that I'm going to use the right time to use while still trying to get on their curated list.
Yeah. And I will say this, I like Bookbub, I think that they're thinking really actively about different ways to connect writers and readers. One of my reasons why I'm like really mad about this is because I spend a lot of money on Facebook ads, and last year I had a pretty good return on investment on those ads, and this year I'm generally happy if I break even. Like sometimes I do, sometimes I have a better week, but like in any given week, if I'm spending $500 on Facebook ads, I see, what a lift of about $500 in sales, I call that a win. Because some weeks is better than that, and at least a neutral return on investment. But like last year, it was so much easier. And this year, readers are inundated by them, and there's a lot of competition. And let's be honest, I'm not a copywriter. My ad copy isn't always bang on. And so the last thing that I need is yet another ad dashboard to be watching, to be analyzing. It takes away from the business of writing and authentically connecting with the readers I already have. And here's my other point on that. Because we, through all the different things that we try. So like I have a lot of freebies. Right. I have like 30 something books, 32 books, 34 titles maybe with my freebies in my catalog. And so I have every day, somewhere between 10 and 50 people joining my mailing list. So I have a warm audience of like 10,000 people that I could be engaging with. So why am I chasing this cold audience that might convert, so it's kind of like there has to be a balancing act there. And if I spend even like 4 hours of my day every day on marketing to a cold audience, then I'll forget to market to the warm audience that I already have. And so that's kind of, I think that there's, we have to limit ourselves a little bit in how much we're constantly seeking out the cold audience, not because that's a bad thing to do, but just because it's a lot of really hard work. And we have like this other really hard work of writing to do as well.
Right.
And there's only so many hours in the day.
That's writer goals. That warm list, that warm and toasty list you have. That's writer goals. I'm talking to these cold lists so I can bring them into the warmth of Alizar. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So I totally get where you are because you got that. And you worked hard for that. Let's not downplay that. You worked hard for that list. Yeah. But I'm trying to work as hard. And when I have a warm list of Alizar citizens, I probably won't focus on that nearly as much.
Yeah, and you're right. And when you are like when someone's starting out and they're trying to find their first 50 readers, their first 100 readers and 500 readers, those at that point, I mean, really the cold audience is all that you got. And so, for that reason, this is another like awesome opportunity. But there are other ways to reach some people, not as many. There are still some kind of creative ways to reach people for free. So it really depends at the end of the day how much the ad buy is. If it's reasonable, then it's worth a try. If it's exorbitant, then it's not the it's not the touch of magic that people kind of hope that it will be. It's just another ad.
Right.
It's just smaller ads than the ones that will be above it. Yeah. So you're also competing with the ones that are in there as well as the option to get in there in the first place. And
that teeny postage stamp ad, yes.
Yeah. Do we want to cover the last item, or should we end it here? Do you guys, what do you want to do?
What was the last item? Remind me. Too many windows.
Publishers acquiring pronouns.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's so weird. I don't know why. Because Penguin, they acquired Author Services a few years ago, right? Mm-hmm. I don't understand. Why is this their business model? I don't get it. That's my
going by
finding farm teams.
Going by
they're finding farm teams.
Going by that article and also a comment that I'd read, one of the reasons they believe that Macmillan's picked it up is because of the data analysis they do. They actually do data analysis, which is sometimes something we think trade publishers don't spend any time doing anyway. So instead of doing it themselves, they've picked up a company that can do it for them.
Interesting.
Because data is worth its weight in gold. Number one. Absolutely important. Number one. Number two, much like we don't want to spend a lot of time taking us away from our business of writing, they don't want to spend a lot of time taking themselves away from the business of publishing, such that it is. And getting that data is very expensive to do it yourself. They're getting the access, the apparatus, and the infrastructure in order to do this at a fraction of the cost it would take to do it themselves.
Right. So it's not really about, it has nothing to do with the self-publishing elements of it.
That's only one part of what Pronoun did. So,
right.
Yeah.
They're also getting a farm team as well. They're getting a farm team. Do y'all understand the concept of a farm team? Are y'all sports ball people at all?
I don't see it as a farm team. Like, I can't imagine that they're actually looking there for authors or content or anything like that. I mean, maybe they are.
Well, absolutely. In a world where writers can publish anytime they want to.
24/7.
Macmillan has decided to find a place where you can catch them all at once.
Oh, no, it's Pokemon.
And I still think, with promises of traditional publishing dangling above their heads, I still think there are folks who get into this still having that dream of the traditional publishing deal.
Oh, I will say, like, I have, I'm a social person, and I have at least a dozen friends. I have like a whole bunch of friends, and a solid chunk, like 40% of my friends. That's a made up stat, but like 40% of my friends still have the goal of being traditionally published. And I spend at least 40% of my time schooling my features when I hear that. But RWA, I'm going to RWA, which is the Romance Writers of America, their national conference. I'm going in July to San Diego, and I'm going to spend like 6 days going,
You're gonna be drunk a lot. Oh, no, you'd have to stay sober so you wouldn't accidentally say anything.
I have to take a flask with me. I'm like, because I try, and my friends all know that.
RWA convention, you're gonna bring a flask?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, my friends all know that. My friends all know that I'm pretty pro indie, but it's just like, I don't understand. Anyway, I don't understand. I try to be understanding, but I fail most of the time.
Well,
I'm looking at what James Aaron's writing, that he's in a writing group made up of mostly MFA grads. That's my coffee clutch. And you have to keep your indie adventures to yourself unless you get the look. I'm like, you know what? Do you get the paycheck?
Is that the look where they can't believe, that you're selling out for money?
Oh. And three of my indie writing best friends all have their MFAs.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that is.
Masters of Fine Arts.
Oh, okay.
In American like creative writing. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the cat just fell off the TV cabinet. Oh, hello.
Hello, cat. What is the cat's name again? Robin?
Mickey.
Robin. I'm thinking about my grandpuppy Rudy, who spent the day with me today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mickey chose Erica like a Pokemon. Erica, I choose you.
No, he just wanted to come inside the house that was next to his. No, he's very friendly, but he has social anxiety, which is weird. But anyway, no, I was just also, how you were saying that there's a farm team. What a lot of trade publishers seem to be doing lately over the past few years, like what you said with Penguin, to buy up that kind of, I kind of want to say vanity publisher, and then when they get in like the submissions for books, instead of publishing them through Penguin, they kind of go, oh, why don't you go to our not vanity publisher and publish the book that way? It's like, and then seeing how that performs, whether or not they should publish it themselves. It's almost like it's a little testing ground at the author's expense.
Pay $1,500, and if we like you, we'll offer you an advance, or we'll offer you a contract so we can fulfill your dream. And Zoe is training her face.
Schooling
my face.
I'm sorry, she's schooling her face.
All for the prestige. Yeah. Okay, I think we're getting way off topic now. I
think that was done.
I'm practicing my RWA, no comments.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Zoe York, for guesting again. Where can people find you?
ZoeYork.com. And this week, FriskyBeavers.com, because Ainsley's first book in a new series is coming out on Tuesday called Prime Minister, and we're very excited about it. I co-wrote it.
Yes,
yeah.
I also saw your live video with the unboxing. It's so lovely.
Oh my gosh, Facebook live videos. We should talk about those next time because they're amazing.
Okay.
Do we have a few minutes to talk about that now?
We can talk about it now. Yeah, I can quit. Okay. So it took me 3 tries because I'm not that technologically savvy as everybody who's noticed that I can't log into a blab can figure out. But my sister told me about Facebook. So the Chewbacca lady, right? I was like, how do we do that? Like, is she like a celebrity or something? No, apparently anybody can do a Facebook live video from a profile.
Yes.
Celebrities with the blue check mark can do it from their page, but anybody can do it from their profile. And I talk about business on my profile all the time. So I was like, okay, I'll try and do it. The first 2 times were fails because the microphone didn't work. But the third time I did it from my tablet and it totally worked. And I got like huge interaction while I was doing this unboxing. It was only going to be like, let's just pimp. Got it right here.
Oh, you're so pretty.
And look how big it is. I'm so I said that in the unboxing video and I got a lot of immediate comments about me saying that it was really big.
Ooh,
anyway, it is.
Big.
Yeah, it is.
He's big.
Big. Anyway, but yeah, I ended up talking for 25 minutes and people kept logging into and it was great comments and questions. And so, yeah, it's worth just doing just for fun. Yeah. But it has to be done on a mobile. It has to be done on your phone or a tablet. It can't be done from a computer.
No, it's kind of like Periscope. It's their version of Periscope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, it's their version of Periscope. Has to be done for the mobile device, and has to be done live with the additional feature of the recording staying on Facebook, in opposed to wafting off into the ether after 24 hours.
Yeah, and you can tell your device to save a higher quality resolution, and then you can upload that to anywhere you want it. Except that since you've then been interacting with the comments, which people won't see if you upload it separately, to YouTube or something, then that's a little bit,
That's why you've got to read out the question or the comment first, and then
see,
yeah,
that's smart. I'll do that next time. Eventually, on my 10th try, I will be a pro at it. No, I will never be a pro at it. But, it's fun anyway. Oh, wait. Right. So Lynn Jordan just said you can go live from a computer on a page now with Windows 10 or third-party software. Ooh, interesting. Okay, good to know. Thank you, Lynn.
Oh, and if you upgrade to Windows 10, one awesome feature of Windows 10 is it does not ask you to upgrade to Windows 10 all the time.
Yes. Because you are there, you will not be asked to upgrade.
And that is the best feature I've heard of Windows 10.
Well, I'm sorry, I totally derailed the goodbyes there.
That's all right.
That's okay. That was awesome. That's why we love having you on the show. Okay. I'm going to, Ellazar.com, ALLAZAR. Black Golden Sage and Daughters of the Flood are available for pre-order. They will be released June 25th and July 25th, respectively. And if you want to reach out to me, that's where you find me, or also on my Facebook page, facebook.com, Ellazar Universe.
Awesome. And you can find me at ericaconroy.com. Not that I've released anything lately, but but that's where you can find me. Also, a quick heads up for anyone who writes romance of any length and or girth. Self-Publishing Roundtable is running a multi-author cross-promo giveaway. So if you'd like to be included in that, it only costs you $10 American, and you will get shit tons of awesome in return. Just go to selfpublishingroundtable.com and you'll find a little banner at the top that you can click on, which will take you to where you need to go to find out more and to submit your book. Right. Selfpublishingroundtable.com. See you next time, Internet.
Bye.
Bye.